see my mess, but I'm crafting because I have a show I'm doing this Saturday. So I'm trying to get busy. You know, when you're gonna do a show, you're like, do I have enough? Do I have enough? So I'm crafting like crazy. So I've made, let me show you what I made. I made this cute little pumpkin. Let's see if I can bring you back. See my craft area. I usually go upstairs, but I feel like bad because the cats are down here and I don't want them to be alone. So this is super cute. It even has the wood stem that I put in there. She is adorable. So I finished her today. And I gotta finish my trees. Then I have this pumpkin I bought, and I'm gonna do the same thing. This will be bigger. This is pretty big, and it was from a Dollar Tree pumpkin. I don't think I'm done with it. I think I'm gonna put a cute little bow. I don't know yet, but we'll see. And then this one I bought at, I think I bought this at Dollar Tree too, but this was $3 because it's bigger. Don't you love the stem? I'm gonna keep the same stem. So I'm gonna try to start working on that tomorrow. And I do have 2 people who ordered blind boxes in a plain bag. They're the same. So I have a blind bag here ready to go. And I have a blind box ready to go. Tomorrow I'm going to go get them weighed to see how much it'll cost. It shouldn't be that bad. They're not like heavy. You know, they're not like with liquids and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and read. I'm waiting for my unemployment checks. They're taking forever. Very irritating because I want to go to Dollar Tree. I know, right? And then I'm gonna have a few peelers. These are so good, the gummy peach. Anyways, it was really nice talking to a couple of the gals who got my blind bags. Corey is one of them. Thank you, Corey, so much. Kelly, you're another one. Thank you, Kelly. You guys are awesome. So, we're gonna go ahead and read Creepers. The Scarecrow. Strange things are happening in Creepers. Great, right? October's like next week. And I have my gum. This time I decided to try Trident Vibes Sour Patch. It's sugar-free, so I got that one today. And I'm gonna go ahead and have a couple of these right now. They're such a pretty color. Can you see that color? It's kind of a clear pink. They have such a good chew. What do you think? They're really good. And I decided to drink just some plain old agua. I say agua. They're good. You guys see these? I think Kelly was telling me over in Canada that these go for $12.99, and we can get them here in Gummy peach is my favorite. I need to go see where I need to go hunt for some more bags. Just for my channel. Because they have such a good chew. It's weird now that I'm doing ASMR. I am so ASMR in my life. I love it. And believe it or not, I do like literally ASMR throughout the day. It's just so calming. It makes life so much easier. They said you can, they're called peelers, peelable, but you can't peel them. I mean, you really can't. I don't know. Maybe. No, kinda. That's messy. Not too messy. So, we'll get into this book. I promise I'll get $1. I love Dollar Tree. I mean, I tell my husband, I go, I'm never gonna stop at Dollar Tree. Just not gonna do it. You know how much I save when I buy my soaps, name brand. When I buy my shampoos, nice shampoos, not cheapy shampoos, like expensive name brand shampoos. For $1.25. And I used to go to like Kroger and spend $70 just on one bottle. One bottle, and it's just a shampoo. So now they add the conditioner. It's $16 to $18. No thanks. Okay, so I need some water. And some gum. These are actually really good. I'll show you the color. Pretty red. Uh-oh, hang on a second. Okay, I'm back. Oh my god. These are really, really good. And they're soft. And they're really yummy. I might have to stick to try it. Mentos has a kind of a hard candy shell on top, overcoat, you know, on top. And some it's gonna be a little rough in the mouth, but I love Mentos, don't get me wrong. I could change them. Okay, now let's go into creepers. It's the Scarecrow. Chapter 1. A new day. Wow, this gum is juicy. Okay. It says Sour Patch. So it is. Sour Patch, and it's red berry. It's natural and artificial flavor. Whew. Okay. David, hurry up. breakfast is almost ready. David Davies rolled over in bed and groaned. School again. He loved that twilight zone between deep sleep and getting out of bed. He had been thinking about last weekend. His dad had taken him to the baseball game for the first time in years. It was the playoffs, and the Rockets won. Excuse me. What a game. A huge crowd, countless great plays, and David, get a move on. His mom screamed at the top of her lungs. I'm coming, David moaned, his mom's shrill voice disturbing his peace. David jumped out of bed, went to the bathroom, and quickly got dressed. He looked around his room for the shoes he'd worn the night before. His room was covered in the usual adolescent mess of clothing, sports gear, and video games. After a few minutes, he appeared in the downstairs hallway, dressed in what could loosely be described as the school uniform. Well, he had the school tie on. He had the school tie on at least. The rest was questionable at best. Baggy shirt, baggy sweater, and baggy pants. David's two sisters were already halfway through their bowls of cornflakes, or oatmeal, or whatever healthy concoction they were into these days. In David's opinion, having two older sisters was the worst bad joke God could have played on a boy. David had just turned 13. Sarah was 14 and a half, as she liked to remind everyone, and Emma was almost 16. Between their fascination with clothes and makeup, David felt at times that life was almost unbearable. David, the school bus is going to be here in 15 minutes, and look at you, his mom said with a sigh. Okay, Mom, relax. Where's Dad? David asked, peering out of the kitchen window. He is over in the far field checking on some of the sheep. He thinks that Fox has been back again. The chickens were making an awful racket last night. He'll be back in a minute, replied Mrs. Davies, throwing some toast onto David's plate. David's dad was a farmer, and the family had just recently moved to the area. The new farm was massive and at least 3 times the size of the farm they had lived on before. Not only did they have more sheep and cattle, but they had far more land to manage. The only problem was that David's dad had so much work to do that he had very little time to spend with his son. With only 2 sisters for company on an isolated farm, David could be a handful at times. Boredom easily set in, and he was always getting into trouble for his antics. His imagination and his bad taste in practical jokes were always the cause of friction between he and his sisters. He could tolerate Sarah, but he had no time at all for Emma. He thought she was from another planet. Emma meeting Steve at lunchtime again today, David asked, smirking at his oldest sister. Mom, tell him to mind his own business. I refused to talk to him after Friday's performance. He is so embarrassing. Emma pouted and turned away. Emma was referring to the teasing, or more accurately, abuse. David and his friends had subjected Emma and her boyfriend to when he had spotted them walking hand in hand on the way to class. Steve was a fair target in David's mind, although he had been forced to make a quick escape when the almost 6-foot Steve had decided he had enough and went after his new love's younger brother. Emma, don't give me any grief. Emma snapped, storming off to her room. Sarah followed Emma, scowling at her brother, as only sisters know how to do. David, give it a rest. I'm fed up with all this bickering, barked Mrs. Davies. Eat your breakfast. David looked out the window again. His dad had just climbed over the fence next to the large barn, where they stored most of the winter hay. Let me get one more piece of gum. Oh my god. It's really juicy. It's soury, not that bad though. Just really juicy. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Let me get some water. Okay. The barn was also home to the family's hens. He was carrying the double-barreled shotgun he usually took out to scare off unwanted visitors. Foxes and crows were the usual targets. David opened the kitchen door and ran out to meet his dad. Hey Dad, everything all right? David asked. Any problem with the sheep? Oh, everything seems okay, Mr. Davies replied. That fox must have left. Those chickens woke me up again last night. What a noise. Just wait until we get ourselves a new dog next week. That'll scare him off. David's old family dog had disappeared 2 weeks ago. Today nobody knew what had happened to him. David's dad had guessed he had fallen down some old foxhole and not been able to get out. He had been a good dog for making sure the local foxes were kept at bay. But now he was gone. It had upset David. It upsets me too, because I'm an animal lover. And I don't think that dog should have been outside, but my cats, they mean the world to me. And they will stay indoors at all times. Okay, back to the book. The dog was often David's only companion on the farm, and they had spent a lot of time together. Do me a favor, Davy, will you? Mr. Davies shouted as he kicked off his boots outside the kitchen door. Go and get me half a dozen eggs from the barn. I could do with a couple of nice fresh boiled eggs. I'm starving. Sure, Dad. David replied, running off to the barn, happy to help his dad. Morning, where's my coffee? Mr. Davies demanded jokingly as he opened the kitchen door. Where it usually is, in the pot. Help yourself, Mrs. Davies replied, cleaning up the girl's dishes. I hope you took off those dirty boots. They were both stopped in their tracks with a sudden chilling scream from the barn. Dad! Dad! Help! Help! Get out here, John. That's David. Chapter 2. Okay. I don't know if I should just do 2 chapters at a time. Okay, let's go on Stranger. Mr. Davies burst out of the kitchen door and crossed the yard as fast as he could. He ran into the barn, his eyes darting all over, searching for his son. Besides the light from the barn entrance, the barn was completely dark. The early morning sunshine had not yet penetrated the barn's broad span. "David, where are you? Are you all right?" Mr. Davies stammered, his eyes trying to peer through the darkness as they adjusted from the bright sunshine. "Dad, Dad." The farmer caught sight of his son standing in the far corner of the barn. He rushed to his side. "David, are you okay? What's going on?" Mr. Davies asked worriedly. David appeared to be uninjured. He was standing straight, his mouth open with his lower jaw almost on his chest. His eyes were glazed over and fixed straight ahead. David's dad scanned his son from head to toe, running his hands up and down his son's body. "What happened to you? Did you fall? Are you hurt?" his dad asked, his voice becoming less frantic as he could see no obvious injury. But David still stared ahead, his eyes fixed as if in shock. Eventually, David turned his gaze toward his dad's face. His dad looked into his son's eyes and followed his gaze, as David once again turned his head to look straight ahead. At the same time, David raised his arm, his finger pointed toward a figure about 4 feet from where they stood. There was no need for David to point now. His dad could see what was holding his son's stare. Feet away, lying on a pile of hay, was a dark shape. At first, the shape was difficult to make out. However, it quickly became unmistakable. It was a body, a man's body. Mr. Davies feared the worst, but the body was not still, and the body's eyes were not closed. The man was alive. Mr. Davies could clearly see the body shaking all over, as if connected to some constant electrical charge, and the whites of the 2 eyes sharply pierced the dimness of the barn. "Go into the house, David. Tell your mom you're all right," Mr. Davies whispered, pushing David away with his broad hand and staring at the mysterious and unwelcome figure. There was no need. David's mom had followed her husband across the yard, and the sound of her arrival at the barn entrance seemed to inject more electrical charge into the shaking figure and caused the already wide eyes to open wider. "Stay back, Karen. Go see to your mom, son." But David was still too shocked to move. He watched his father edge closer to the trembling figure. Mr. Davies reached out his hand and laid it firmly on the man's shoulder. "Who in the world are you? What happened to you? What are you doing here?" Mr. Davies' voice trembled, betraying the nervousness they all felt. His approach and contact only seemed to send another 200 volts into the already shock-reddened body. To everyone's surprise, the man jumped up and in one movement threw the big farmer to the floor and headed for the barn entrance. David's dad was a big man, and it seemed unlikely that he could so easily be pushed down by a man who looked no more than half his size. The sudden movement seemed to shake David from his trance. Seeing his dad thrown to the floor, David threw himself at the man's feet, sending him hurtling into the numerous chicken coops that housed the family's army of hens. Among them, flapping wings and tangled chicken wire, the man struggled to get to his feet. But there was no point. David's dad was now back on his feet, and no longer in any mood to hold back on his unwelcome visitor. Any concern or sympathy he had previously felt was now gone. Mr. Davies' foot buried itself deep into the man's stomach. Once, twice, and then a third time, followed swiftly by a right hook square to his jaw. The man slumped to the floor, semi-conscious. David, go with your mom. Call the police. They'll have to attend to this now. I'll stay with him until they get here, Mr. Davies instructed, his voice now full of his unusual composure. David ran over to his mom, and the two quickly made their way to the house, eager to call for help. Well then, stranger, what do you have to say for yourself? Mr. Davies questioned, lifting the man to his feet and sitting him down on top of one of the overturned chicken coops. This man's body had stopped shaking, but his eyes were as wide as ever, displaying what now in clearer light seemed like sheer terror. Come on, speak up, Mr. Davies insisted. The man looked hard into Mr. Davies' eyes, his own eyes seeming to search the farmers for help. Well, what are you doing here? Tell me, Mr. Davies shouted, losing patience. He grabbed and shook the man's shoulder, frustrated by the lack of response. The man opened his mouth, and a trickle of blood appeared at the corner of his lips. He seemed to mutter something, but it was no more than a garble and barely audible. What are you trying to say? Speak up. Speak up, insisted Mr. Davies. Again the stranger started to open his mouth, and again no sense could be made of the noises he made. His two hands went to his mouth as if trying to pry out the words he seemed unable to utter. The noises he was making were no more than moans and groans. He then crumbled to the floor with noises that, this time, were unmistakable. The man was sobbing uncontrollably. Mr. Davies looked down, bemused at the pathetic figure in front of him. Well, you'll talk soon enough when you're behind bars. You better have something to say for yourself then, Mr. Davies snapped, offering no pity to the stranger. We'll stop here. Chapter 3, Not a Stranger. Unless you want me to do 3 chapters. I thought I would just go ahead and mix a little of reading and Dollar Tree, of course. That's my passion. So, my camera keeps moving. Anyways, I'm going to end it here on chapter 2. We'll start chapter 3. I don't know, maybe tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have a Dollar Tree haul too by then. So, I just want to let you know, thank you for subscribing. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's free. It's easy. And if you don't like me, you can always unsubscribe. That's okay. And give me a thumbs up. The more you guys give me a thumbs up, the more you comment, the channel gets out there into the algorithm. It'll pick it up so I can grow my channel. I think I'm at 265 right now. I need 1,000 for sure. My watch hours, I'm close. I'm super close. I think I need 4,000 watch hours within a year, and I'm already halfway there. So, and hit the notification bell to get notified of my upcoming video. So, anyway. tell you too, I'm completely trained with my niece's job, and now I'm just waiting. I have to clear up some of my craft room, which I tried to do today, but I just can't give my stuff up. I love to craft. I will be linking my website. I do have a website for my crafts and other things, like my jewelry that I'll be making, and my date with a blind book. So, okay, I'm just rambling now. Alright, thank you too for the 2 people that ordered my blind bag. You guys are awesome. Okay, I hope you guys have a great day, great night, great morning, and I'll see you in the next video.